Hello, and welcome to another episode of Cara's Fast Natural English podcast. I disappeared for a little while. In April, I was pretty busy working on my website. I had my parents come to stay with me in France. And then during the month of May, I did something, maybe a bit crazy. I spent a whole 3 weeks with my boyfriend in Japan, which was an amazing trip. Which we decided to do. I'd finished my job. We thought it was the right time. So in the next couple of podcasts, I want to tell you very quickly, of course, about the trip, about what we did, my recommendations, advice for traveling in Japan. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about in this episode was surviving a long distance flight. So from Paris to Japan, it was 11 and a half hours, let's call it 12 hours flight. And so before that flight that I took at the beginning of May, I hadn't been on a long distance flight since I was 15 or 16. That was back in 2001, and that was only, I think it was a trip to Canada, and it was only maybe 8 or 9 hours. It wasn't so bad, whereas 12 hours was a bit more daunting. So the first thing I did was I asked some friends on Facebook, okay, I've got a long distance flight coming up, so what should I do? What advice have you got? And so one of my so-called friends wrote to me saying, oh, just take a sleeping pill and some vodka and it will go fine. And I said, well, I think if I do that, I'll probably never wake up again from after the flight. So yeah, that wasn't really the best advice, but my dad gave me some sensible advice because he told me, do not accept any free alcohol. Now, as counterintuitive as this seems, especially because our flight was with Air France, and so in fact potentially you could have a lot of alcohol because they offer you champagne, you can have wine with your meal, you can have a little digestif, like a little brandy after your meal, but I said no to all of it because it really dehydrates you on your flight. And my dad's other tip was to take off my shoes. That was a good one because sometimes your feet can really swell up during a flight. So I did that. I brought some slippers on the flight. That was a really good idea. Thank you, Dad. And then the other advice was just generally, bring a good book, watch some good films, do that kind of thing. So we did a funny thing with my boyfriend. Well, we thought it was funny. So we had the movie screens on the back of the seats, and we decided to watch the same film at the same time. So we were both watching it on different screens, but kind of together. We managed to synchronize so that we'd be watching it together. So we watched Daddy's Home. It's a film with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg, very funny. So that was okay. Well, like the first hour and a half, 2 hours was okay because we watch the film and then they bring you food, so that's good. It's just the rest of the hours that are pretty tough. I thought I would sleep, but I actually found it really hard to sleep. I tried to listen to some relaxing music and it didn't really help. Maybe I had like a 20-minute nap, something like this. I don't know. Sleeping was really hard in economy class on a plane because the seats are just so uncomfortable. But yeah, I pretty much managed to survive with listening to music, making sure I got up to walk around a lot. That was really important, and drinking water, of course, water or soft drinks. That seems to be the best way to survive during a flight. The only downside was that when we landed, I was sick. So they'd given us breakfast, and I don't know, when we were landing, it was a bit bumpy, and I was sick basically. But there was a nice passenger next to us. He very quickly passed me a bag so I could be sick in it. That was very nice of him. And I survived the first day in Japan, the first day in Tokyo without falling asleep. It was very difficult, but but we managed to adjust to the time zone. So yeah, that's how I survived the flight, what we did on the flight. In the next couple of episodes, I'll tell you a little bit about what we did for these 3 whole weeks. It's pretty long, isn't it? And I'll give you a few tips for traveling in Japan. All right, see you next time. Thanks, bye.